Well, the Washington Commanders continue to make a lot of moves in the front office, more coaching hires, and we're going to talk about it in this video. And welcome back to the podcast here on the Washington Football Maniacs channel. My name is Greg, and this channel, of course, is dedicated to the fandom of Washington Commanders football. If you're into that, please make sure you have subscribed to this channel and also hit that notification bell when you do. You can also check out the Washington Football Maniacs on Podbean, and we will also be expanding to Apple Podcasts, Spotify. So basically, anywhere that you listen to your favorite podcasts, the Washington Football Maniacs will be there as well. So, in this podcast today, this episode, we are talking about more hiring of coaches, of front office personnel, restructuring of the front office, and just how it looks like that things are so much different from a Dan Snyder ran organization already. I mean, things are very exciting. Even if we don't see improvement on the field right away, I guarantee it's going to come. So, yesterday, the Washington Commanders hired Anthony Lynn to be their run game coordinator. And I think this is a huge hire for Washington. First of all, um, Anthony Lynn has been a head coach in the league. He's served in many roles, but he is an outstanding coach. Outstanding hire. Um, wasn't as successful as a head coach, but I mean, we could say that about a lot of coaches that really tend to be more suited for um, coordinators, you know, position coaches, that sort of thing. So, but the fact that he was, nominated or hired, I guess, to be a head coach at one point, let you know what type of coach he is. He's a very good coach in the league. And, to me, this is a very good hire because a lot has been said about Cliff Kingsbury, of course, and about his air raid offense. And a lot of people are like, well, we're just going to be throwing the ball around just like Eric Bieniemy did. So why go out and hire Cliff Kingsbury when you could have basically just had the same thing with Eric Bieniemy? Well, if you would go back and actually see, folks, the running game was just as important for Cliff Kingsbury's version of the air raid as, of course, the passing was. And you're seeing some very good hires here. I mean, honestly, Anthony Lynn could serve in a much more prestigious role than a running backs coach or coordinator. And the fact that they have hired him to do that, I mean, is basically Dan Quinn has got very talented people coming in to help coach and coordinate that are honestly taking positions that's beneath them. And just to show you exactly how important each aspect is, especially on the offensive side of the football. This was the biggest thing that we talked about when Dan Quinn was hired is he's got to get the offense right. He's got to get the hire of the offensive coordinator correct, but he has got to get the right coaching staff in place to run the offense. And I think he has. You know, Cliff Kingsbury, Anthony Lynn. Um, I know Brian Johnson was one that a lot of people are like, oh, my dear Lord, get ready to see nothing but bubble screens and slants and things like that. And it's like, he is a passing game coordinator. He is not an offensive coordinator. So he's going to serve as the pass game coordinator. And then you have Anthony Lynn, excuse me, serving as the running game coordinator, all underneath Cliff Kingsbury, which is an outstanding offensive coordinator. So he's really put together some very good coaches there on offense, and of course defense. He hired Daryl Tapp to be well, he was the 49ers assistant coach, but he's going to be coaching the defensive line. And I mean, you got someone like Daryl Tapp, who was very successful in the NFL, coaching the defensive line, very successful as a player. And then, of course, hiring Tom Donatel as the defensive backs coach. That will be an interesting hire there. I don't know a whole lot about Tom Donatel, other than, as John Kim has pointed out, he spent 3 years with the Los Angeles Chargers and was their passing game coordinator and secondaries coach. So he's going to be dealing mainly with the secondary for the Washington Commanders. Um, so, we can go on and on about the coaching staff. We've already put out several videos, and of course, positions kept coming in and getting filled even after Brandon and myself put out separate videos on this. But another huge hire for the Washington Commanders, of course, is bringing in Newark. Newark. I knew I was going to blank on that one. Um, but Newark spent 26 years in Detroit with the Lions. He's went through several regimes, survived 3 regimes in Detroit. He was the national scout for 3 years and Detroit scouting director for 2 years. He was the team's director of player personnel from 2016 to 2021. And Newmark, not Newark, but Newmark, interviewed for Detroit's GM opening for the Lions before they hired Holmes in 21. So Lance Newmark is going to serve as an assistant general manager to Adam Peters. So what does that mean for Mark Mayhew? Well, Mark Mayhew has been reassigned, and he will now serve as a senior personnel executive and advisor to his replacement, Adam Peters. And then Marty Herney will serve as an advisor role. So don't know how much that Marty Herney will actually contribute to the personnel choices and things like that, but he will serve as an advisor. But Adam Peters getting things restructured in the front office, bringing in another guy who actually, and the other thing with Lance is the fact that he got his start under Bobby Beathard. So maybe that is some very good news for us Washington Commanders fans, and a nod to the past of a very, very highly successful general manager here with the Redskins. So I'm telling you, a lot of great moves that has been made with, of course, the Washington Commanders, Adam Peters, and then, of course, Dan Quinn filling out some other spots. I'm telling you, this is a huge coaching staff. I kind of figured that as far as coaching staff is concerned, you'd have maybe like 10 or 11 positions. There's a lot more. There's a lot more staff um, as far as coaches and coordinators here in Washington than I would have actually thought. So this is very interesting, folks. In my opinion, I think you're seeing a team being built the right way. First of all, we talked about before anybody was hired, we said the front office needs to be built the right way. You need to get the absolute best general manager you possibly can. You need to restructure things in the front office. bring in the better scouts, which I think so far, Adam Peters says he's been pretty happy with scouting here in Washington. Um, but then, of course, you've got to be able to hire the right person as head coach, and he's got to be able to fill out his staff and bring in some high quality coaches. And I think that Dan Quinn has done exactly that. Certainly, the only coach that everybody would have had scratching their heads over was Bobby Johnson as far as hiring him to oversee the offensive line. He had some struggles there in New York with the Giants, but he also had a lot of injuries that was sustained with that offensive line. Not to mention also an injured quarterback as well. So honestly, none of us would have known a lot of these coaches before now, except for maybe guys like Anthony Lynn. He's been around enough. He's pretty popular enough that people have known Anthony Lynn and Cliff Kingsbury. Of course, people will point to Cliff Kingsbury as far as, well, he failed as a head coach. He's not coming here to be a head coach, at least not right now. So, um, the thing that I like about what Dan Quinn is doing is that he is hiring depth, right? So if things are really progressing like we hope they are, and eventually you're going to have guys like Cliff Kingsbury who's going to be getting another opportunity to be a head coach if he's successful in Washington, then you're going to have guys who hopefully they're going to pick up even more um, experience and just knowledge under their belts. And so those guys could step in and lead the team as well. So there's a lot to the method of the madness that Dan Quinn is instituting here with his hires, and I think he's done a fabulous job. Now, certainly, it will remain to be seen because the next big step that this team is going to have to do is they're going to have to go in and find some good free agents, and they're going to have to deal with the draft exactly the way that it needs to be. Now, of course, they're going to know a lot better as far as how to deal with the draft than what we will. We as fans, of course, we're going to think that if they don't draft a quarterback at number two, then there's something wrong with them. If they trade up to get Caleb Williams, you're going to have a lot of fans who are going to be very excited. But at the same time, you're going to have some people who's going to be extremely upset because chances are any team that trades up to number one is going to have to give up a king's ransom in draft picks and multiple first round draft picks. And I'm not sure if the Washington Commanders are at that point. I've said it before. I don't think that they need to worry about trading away all of these first round draft picks to move up to one. I think at number two, they can easily land a franchise quarterback. And even still, once we get past the NFL Combine and look at pro days and things like that, a lot of these other quarterbacks may move up as far as their value goes. And so I think you do need to also consider trading down. But we're going to be talking about that a whole lot more as well. But overall, folks, I'm very excited about what Dan Quinn has done with all of these hires. I know a lot of you guys are as well. Um, the the only negative thing that I have heard from people is that, well, with all of these fabulous coaches, how are they going to be able to get along? Are they going to have, is it going to be an ego thing? And I'm telling you, people will find something to complain about. Honestly, I don't think you're going to have to worry about egos. There's always going to be a certain amount of egos in football coaching, that sort of thing. But I think that Dan Quinn has put together a coaching staff that he knows can gel together, who's going to be able to all be on the same page. And I think, honestly, if there was any doubt in Dan Quinn's mind that these coaches would not be on the same page, would want to kind of follow their own path, then I don't think he would have hired them. So, at least I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt on that. But at any rate, folks, things are looking up. Um, Check out Twitter. A lot of the Washington Commanders' social media, you'll be able to see exactly a comprehensive list of who all was hired as far as the coaching staff. And I don't think we've even seen that before up until now. It's like now we're seeing, wow, look at this coaching staff. Um, it's going to be great, folks. I guarantee you, all of these fabulous coaches that we have on this coaching staff, we start to get some more solid, quality players in as well. There's going to be a turnover as far as our fortunes very quickly indeed. Folks, if you enjoyed this podcast, please give it a like, give it a share. Let me know in the comments your thoughts with this coaching staff. What did Dan Quinn do right? What did he do wrong? And also, as far as the front office hires with and the restructuring that Adam Peters has um, instituted, let's talk about that as well. And folks, hope you enjoyed it. I will see you in the next.